indeed. Back from a long respite there, Webbs. Long respite, long respite.
Hey, everybody needs a break.
Indeed, indeed.
Whoa. Oh.
You got it playing somewhere.
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. What is up, world? Back at it one more time. It is wonderful to be back. We're gonna do a different thing now. We're only gonna have 4 shows a month, so Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday. Give ourselves some time to recoup a little bit. It's a little hectic, man. A little hectic. A lot of things
It
going on,
was.
Webs. A lot of things going
Yeah.
on. Indeed, indeed. So tonight's show, and from here through the summer, we're going to kind of deal with Canvas as a kind of a reinvention of what we did last summer in terms of the Canvas Center type stuff, and really looking at Canvas as a place where you can be very creative, and that a place where Webs, I think, we kind of said this Saturday with the group that we work with on Saturdays, like really, you don't have to master Canvas to use Canvas effectively. And I think that's hopefully something that's going to encourage people to go and try it out without having to have a situation where I know how to do all of the bells and whistles and stuff. So
Yeah, I think that's true of a lot of tools. Like, you don't have to know like 90% of what's there. Usually you can get by with like the top 10 to 20% of the skills that something offers. And it gets you where you need to go. And I think that's true of Canvas as well.
oh, absolutely. And I think that you can fake it till you make it in Canvas in a lot of ways. Like I think the first 3 or 4 years, it was like I barely scratched the surface of what Canvas could do because I didn't need it. And when you need it, suddenly when the need arises, you'll figure out ways to do what you need to do. So tonight, what we're going to deal with is kind of a product based function there, and we're gonna be looking at everything through the prism of working on work, which is Philip Schlechty's kind of brainchild. If you're not a fan of Schlechte, you probably can't be friends. But Schlechte, um, and really kind of uber simplistic. This is text working on the work. Oops, working on the work. 95 pages of goodness that you can like probably get through in a day or two. Um, but really having the idea that we want to have students be, he uses the idea of volunteer. I think we can update that idea to talk about users, people that we want to be able to take what you're teaching them, what you're presenting to them, and do work with it, produce some product that is authentic and meaningful to them and to the world, as a expression of their comprehension and understanding of what you're dealing with. What say you, Webbs?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that like also when we're talking about things that are reflective of like the working world, you have to be creative. Like you have to be able to produce a thing. Um it's not enough to just demonstrate a skill. Like especially I think about with my job, one of the common ways that people tend to get jobs in my field is you have a repository, a set of repositories on GitHub, you have a portfolio and you demonstrate that I can make a thing. That's how you show that you actually have that skill. It's not enough to like they don't give you a worksheet. Although sometimes they make you whiteboard, but that's a different story. They don't give you a worksheet and say, here, fill out this worksheet. Like you have to actually build something and problem solve. And the problem that you have to solve isn't going to be like, you're not going to know what that is ahead of time. So you have to have the skills to be able to break down what you need to do and figure out what you could put together to showcase what you're looking for.
Facts, facts.
Or what they're looking for.
So, as always, we start with a ask a software developer question. And today's question, Webb, is what are the benefits of just using audio in your creation process? So taking the video part out, we focus a lot on video. Video is king. 80% of the things on the internet are video, and we want to keep people's attention. But if you were a developer, you're somebody who's doing social media, you're somebody who's trying to capture people's attention, what are the benefits of taking audio and adding it to a still picture, for example? Like why is that perhaps something that's a great strategy?
I think that the bar for entry is a lot lower, which means like there might be more focus on um not more focus on, let me rephrase that. I think with when you're just focused on the audio part, it cuts down on the amount of additional work you have to do. So I feel like it's a good entry into starting with video, because instead of having to worry about like, oh, where do I cut here? And like video, I feel like is a has some additional cognitive load, and it's an additional skill set. If you think of like still picture with text as level 1, and then I feel like audio with still picture is level 2, and then video is like level 3, because you're taking moving images, you're cutting them together, you're adding the audio, things need to sync up, there's a lot more that's involved. It's a much more complex thing, but I feel like this makes it like the bar for entry is a lot lower here. You can have a basic still image and just put audio over top of it. You don't have to worry about like cutting things at a certain time or all the things that come with video editing as well. So I think that it's a good stepping stone to eventually getting to video. And I think too, audio is so important. Like good audio, let me do the opposite. A non-example, bad audio can ruin a video. So if you work really, hard at the audio piece of it and figuring out like things like, what does this sound like? Is it popping? Is there fry? Like what's happening here? Then you can really hone in on that skill, get it really good, and then start to apply it to video.
And I would add that it's a lot easier being able to go to Amazon or what is the thing, Donors Choose or whatever, and ask for 15 microphones. It's a lot more palatable than I want a $600 or $700 camera that I want to go and film kids with or whatever. It's a lot more palatable. It's a lot more likely to be funded, and you can get a pretty decent microphone. I got a bunch of microphones from Donors Choose years ago. Got about I got 40 microphones or something crazy like that from Amazon, or like $15 a piece or something like that for my computers in my room. It was pretty easy to get funded. Had I tried to get a pretty good Sony camera, you're talking $700, $800, $900. It's a different animal, right? And it's one camera as opposed to every kid having a microphone there. Um, so, I mean, I definitely, I think the other thing that's really kind of cool with audio is there there's a really cool video about Cree Summer and her getting started with her being a voice actor. My niece is named after Cree Summer. Used to be on Different World. She was Inspector Gadget. She was Penny on Inspector Gadget. She was what's the young lady that's on the black girl that's on Rugrats. She was her
I
voice.
okay.
A codename Kids Next Door. She's been on a lot of she's on the probably the Mount Rushmore of voice actors for kids cartoons, right? And just that skill, being able to say in front of a microphone and use your voice to tell a story, that's a really powerful skill. Well, in really an underrated one, because again, there's a lot of actors who've made amazing careers if you've never seen their faces before, and they've been in cartoons and doing dub work and all kinds of stuff like that. And these are really, really, really successful people. So don't sleep on the audio, which is going to be the focus of our hustle today. All right. So go ahead,
Also, it's
Rach.
a standard. Being able to record and record audio is a standard.
Absolutely. So I mean, and again, it's barrier to entry makes it sound like, oh, it's an easier thing, but barrier to entry also means it's a less difficult entry point into kids being able to create. Like again, the video deal, you got to have there's still teachers without native webcams on their computers, which is insane, but they don't have that. But they have a microphone port. It might be a lot easier just to throw a microphone inside there, little cigar mic from your neighborhood electronics store. It's going to be a lot cheaper than a pretty good webcam. Gives you the ability to go and record very quickly. Same thing for your students. The Chromebook video cameras are not the greatest in the world, really, really substandard. But being able to just go and get get a bunch of cheap headphones with a little native a microphone on them, and have your kids be able to do podcasting and things like that might be a lot easier. And the I think the product is going to be a lot more polished than if you try to go and record a bunch of video on the rather, again, substandard Google Chromebook video camera. So something else to kind of think about. Anything else to add, Webs?
Nope.
All right, cool.
Let's show the people how to do some things.
All right, so let's talk working on work first before we get into to that deal. And the reason why working on the work is such an attractive idea to me, because it puts the work in the hands of the individuals that should be doing the work. And a lot of times, I was going strolling through Twitter, which I'm loath to do sometimes, Webs, because it's a very depressing place. But people are like, "Oh, there's no tired like teacher tired." I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. However, a lot of times teacher tired is because we didn't go and make sure that the individuals that are supposed to be doing the work were actually doing the work, right? It was a situation where you're bearing the brunt of a load that you shouldn't be bearing. That a kid should be, your users should be creating products and going through processes that allow them to be doing the yeoman's work and expressing themselves. And I think a lot of times we go and we want learning to have a very to be not have the steep learning curve that sometimes it requires, right? Sometimes kids have to do things over and over again, and I know personally you get frustrated when you're like, "Hey kid, it's there. Do that, do that, do that, do that," and the kid's like, "Nah," and they do this other thing, this other thing. You're like, "All right, well, this kid just do the thing that I know that's the right answer, kid," right? So it does take some patience. It does take some trial and error. But working on the work, the whole idea that Schlechte comes up with, Webs, is this idea that there are 5 levels of engagement, and we want to hit that authentic engagement. We want kids to do things because we have surveyed them, we have observed them, and we have said, okay, cool. According to our surveys and according to our observations, these are the things they like. I'm going to take the Brussels sprouts and hide it in these things that they like in order to get them to do what we would like.
I think one particular way that what we're going to talk about tonight does that is like, this is useful for social media. And I think there is some teachers and adults tend to stick their noses up at things like TikTok and Instagram and stuff. But the reality is, like, those are engaging platforms. I've learned a lot from TikTok, actually. The ability to condense information into 1 minute is like, you really have to know a subject to be able to cut stuff out and talk about it in 1 minute and cover a whole topic. And I think this would be an appealing tool to use, because you're giving them the opportunity to practice a skill that they might very likely want to use in their personal social life to make engaging content. And you're giving them the tools to be able to do that. So it's a nice trade-off of like, okay, you're giving them a skill that would really be valuable to them, not only now, but in the future, because everything is marketing. Like, everything is trying to sell an idea to somebody else. So giving them the tools to be able to sell an idea to someone else is an empowering skill, all in and of itself.
Well, and I came late to the TikTok hustle, but the thing I like the most about TikTok is not all of the stuff, the creative. I like the creative constraint of, like you said, 60 seconds. That's all you got to explain this. You don't have 5 minutes. You don't have 15. You got 60 seconds. That's all you got. And to see how that constraint forces people to be more innovative, more creative in that space is really, really, really dope. And then also as a viewer, I know this is only going to last 60 seconds. It's not going to take 15 minutes for you to explain what you need to explain. 60 seconds. I got 60 seconds. Cool. That's wonderful. Even my man with the laugh, the ha 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 dude. I mean, I like that because that's coming at the end, right? Ha 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 ha.
Carlo. Yeah. Carlo. I forget his last name, but his username is Carlo something. Very good.
Yeah. I mean, you got, like, at the end, you're gonna hit a little laugh and you go into the next situation, right? So it's pretty dope. So I am probably going to start my TikTok up this summer. That's probably going to be my little summer project. I don't know if I'm going to be as engaging as some of the stuff that I've watched, but why not? But That being the case, the working on the work situation is that I want you to produce something that is authentic. And that is what kids like to do. They like the TikToks. They like YouTube videos. They like, we play Fortnite every Wednesday with the students at the school. They like that kind of the performance situation. When the kids are like, Mr. Lang, can I Twitch stream this? Twitch stream it, dude. Like, wonderful. Do that. Just don't, no one use any names because I don't want to be like, they destroy me in Fortnite. Not a Fortnite player. I'm very embarrassed by my performance. One of my students actually, after we played last week, he was like, "Look, I'm gonna go coach you on how to actually play Fortnite, fam, because you can't. You need
You're so bad."
Yeah, it was, and they were ganging up on me too. So that was also like we were playing like free for all, and for some reason it was like, "Hey, everybody get Mr. Light," but that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. All right, and so yeah. Let's talk audiograms. What exactly does that mean, Webbs?
It's exactly what it says. Audio meaning sound and gram meaning writing. So you're pairing an audiogram itself is like the wave that you see that reflects the sound that you're hearing, but it more largely refers to like you see these a lot again on social media, like if you're on Instagram, especially like either the waveform that's reflecting the sounds and it's like showing the text over top of an image. It could be a still image, it could be a video, but the important part really is that you're hearing and seeing. There isn't like that video component where you're like cutting video together. It's just usually a still image with some words and the audio wave.
And the reason why I really dig this, especially for elementary school students, first of all, it's social media, the impact of social media, right? So you have a situation where you are very, very clearly demonstrating a strategy students can use in order to, when they can legally have social media, they can express themselves. It's also not distracting, right? One of the things with video is I've got to pay attention to what's happening, things are moving, et cetera, et cetera. Audiogram, I don't have to pay attention. I just have to listen to a voice, right? There's an image there to have a visual component of it. But if I were to put my headphones in my ear and go wash the dishes, I could still listen to it and not be not think in my mind, oh, I'm missing this video component that somebody's moving around or demonstrating something or shooting the ball or whatever. It's purely audio. And when we do this, I do this every year with students. When the kids realize how easy it is to do, you see this being demonstrated in their regular class, right? Hey, I got a paragraph I wrote. I want to go and recite a poem. I want to do whatever. I can take that and then use my visual creativity to create a graphic that's going to demonstrate this. But the graphic is it's almost gravy, right? It's just gravy on top of this high quality audio that I have, that even if you didn't watch the video or watch the graphic portion of it, I still have this very powerful using my voice as a weapon, right? Using my voice and the intonation of my words, inundate, like some of the kids when they start to listen to, I use Paul Robeson because Paul Robeson's voice is just like booming, baritone. It's just so like, oh my gosh, right? And then sing-song rappers, the Lil Yachty's and stuff like that, the way that they can make their voice undulate and have kids try to mimic that, because that undulation is very, very intoxicating, right? And we're going to kind of get to all the tools we're going to use tonight are free. Webb's actually built something that's really cool as well that she'll demonstrate. But all the tools are free. They're all built into a Canvas module shell right now. I've got to build some other little pedagogical things, stilts there, and we'll make sure those things are available to people if they want to download the Canvas module. But in terms of the tools, totally free. They don't cost you anything. I do this first grade through fifth. I don't do it with K just because they have iPads. It's a lot easier ways for them to do. You can take Keynote, record your voice very quickly, and throw it right on the Keynote file, and then you have audiogram in no time, really. On the Chromebooks, which most of our students are going to have, little more involved process, but I think because it's more involved, it actually gives students more opportunities to be creative because they can substitute things, they can add little pieces that would like, etc. All right, so webs, let's give them a little taste and see what pops off. I'm gonna kind of go from, I was thinking about this the other day. I used to watch this Mother's Day. So this is my Mother's Day deal. My mom was big into cooking shows. I remember being a kid, went back home watching PBS. Yan Can Cook was one of her favorite shows, and Yan Can Cook would always say, "If Yan can cook, you can too." Right? That was his ending little not. But he also, just like most cooking shows, he had this finished dish that he would show you. This is what it looks like, and he would walk you through everything. So we're going to do Yan Can Cook style tonight. I'm going to show you the finished product of an audiogram, and then we're going to walk through every little piece. All right. So let's check it out. Here's our walkthrough. All right. Here we go. I believe that's it. Yes. Wrong one.
It's kind of like a podcast too.
It is. And so you can actually take audiograms from podcasts, right? And we'll show you kind of looking at and what that looks like as well. Because webs, I believe that's your tool that you built or you re-engineered, gives us that ability to, yeah.
To what?
To take a podcast that's already in existence and make an audiogram out of it.
Any audio. You can do any audio clip.
So any audio clip. So before we took our hiatus, our mental break, we did haiku. And haiku, again, haiku get there like this. I was talking to an English teacher, and she was like, why would you use haiku to explain stuff? Like, because it's easy, it's pretty linear and easy for students to deal with. It's 17 syllables. Like, it's not something that's, I don't have to write a paragraph or anything like that. And I use Jackie Robinson just because it's baseball season. I'm not a Dodgers fan, even though one of us is, unfortunately. But Jackie Robinson is my guy. So up here at the top, here's an audiogram, built-in headliner, and headliner is totally free for everybody. Doesn't cost you anything. If you're a teacher, you can get an EDU account. There is an account for teachers and students as well. So my students have EDU accounts. And so there is my audiogram. I'm going to mute ourselves very quickly, Web, so I can play that through. Jackie, Rookie of the Year, Monarchs, Royals, the Dodgers, Baseball Hall of Fame. So you'll notice that up here in the top left-hand corner, my waveform was going as I talked. Also, this closed captions it, so it'll go in. It has the transcription built into it, so you'll be able to do in terms of accessibility. It also offers that ability there. I was able to put my logo on top of that. So if your students use Adobe Spark or any other thing to build their own logos, they can brand themselves. Again, another big thing for social media. I can send it to Twitter. I can send it to Facebook. I can send it to YouTube. I can send it to Instagram. I can download it. All those things. If I attach my Google Drive to it, I can save there and I can save the Dropbox. And also just copy it and rock and roll that way. All right, so that's the end product. Anything to add, Webs?
I don't think so.
Awesome sauce. So at the beginning, you need a script of some kind because this is now a haiku, a paragraph, reciting a favorite speech,
explaining a concept.
Explaining a concept. Any of those things, I ask the students to write it down so that it can be read from rather than off the top of the dome. Just so that in terms of the quality of the audio, we don't want a bunch of ums and 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 that. Script is going to keep it nice. We also know that there's going to be I can go and I can reliably time that. So I know that my audiogram is going to be 50 seconds, 55 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. But the script is going to allow us to know that we have a definitive beginning and a definitive ending of our audio. Anything to say about that, Webs?
Yeah, the rehearsal and like having it written out, I think is important for a couple of reasons. One, it gives kids a meaningful, authentic reason to write something, right? I know when I was in the classroom, one of the things my students always fought with me about was like, why do I need to revise? Why do I need to edit? Like, who cares? Well, I think it's fine the way it is. But if they know that they're presenting this to record, it's going to go to an audience, then suddenly they are motivated to be able to edit and revise. They understand that there's a real reason to edit and revise. They want to do takes over and over again. So they're getting that practice of reading and reading with different inflection, and they can try different ways and put a camera or a recording device in front of a kid, and most of them will record and record and record and record ad nauseum. So I think that it makes it really authentic. For teachers who are like, oh, how do I teach my kids to type? This is a perfect time for them to do authentic practice at the keyboard, writing out what they want to say, and to make sure that the time is tight and that the words are tight. So often when you look at like YouTube videos, it looks like these people are just amazing at speaking off the cuff, when in reality they have a script. They're reading off a script and then they go back and edit it. Some things may be big ideas that they go back and edit, or speak freely on that particular topic. But most of them have some sort of script that they're going by. It's not just like they speak amazingly without having written it ahead of time. So I think this is a very natural way to integrate writing.
Absolute facts. And again, it's authentic. There's a reason why we're writing. We're writing to speak to an audience. We want the audience to understand a point of view, a train of thought, an idea about, in this case, Jackie Robinson, whatever. It's not just aimlessly, I'm writing to my teacher for some humdrum reason that no one cares about. The only person who's ever going to read this is my teacher. And that's the power of publishing things, so that other people can go and say, I agree, I respectfully disagree, or that's really cool, that's not cool, etc. Because that is how our world works in terms of social media and all that stuff. I publish something out there in the world, people can agree, disagree, etc., etc. All right. So again, the script, and in my case, again, I have kids do haikus, but if you just want to have a situation where a kid reads a story to another student that they wrote, or they read a poem or whatever, all those things are totally in balance. They sing a song. I had a student that said they wanted to sing a song. Great, sing a song. That's wonderful. It's still scripted. It's still going to have a situation in which I can go through it and deal with the audio. All right. So the second piece I always make, or I encourage kids to do is, we don't want a plain Jane boring graphic. I want something that's attractive there for my audience. That's going to bring in those who have the ability to recognize the visuals. Say, oh, that's really cool. I have this other reminder of the whatever the topic is that you perhaps are going to be reading about or speaking about. So you have there are a plethora of tools that you can build graphics in. If you are not in Clark County and don't have access to Adobe Spark, you can take Google Slides and do this. Just save things as JPEGs. Keynote saves as JPEGs. Crello, Canva. There's any number of just taking something from Unsplash and just downloading from Unsplash for free. Pexels.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of different of very cool free or free-ish ways you can do stuff. But I like Adobe Spark Webs just because it's pretty intuitive. The students really have an opportunity to go and play around with their own idea of what reality could look like, and playing around with colors and text and things like that. Anything to add on that, Webs?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's especially intriguing about Spark Post is it feels very much in line with other Adobe tools. Like I think they've even added layers to the Spark Posts. Yeah. So it gets them used to, it's like a slimmed down version of the more mature Adobe tools, which are basically industry standard for most industries when you're talking about working with visual media. So I think if you're trying to decide between Canva and Spark, that's one reason I think to use the Adobe product is it gets them familiar with similar concepts that then they can mature onto like the more complex tools when they're ready.
Because now Spark does have Photoshop built into it. So if you're using the web, and just very quick demonstration. So the other cool thing, this is all multiple Jackie Robinsons I've done over. This is tons.
Hey, you iterated it on an idea.
So I mean, that's the cool thing about teaching the same lesson over and over and over again. You kind of have to play around with different things. But You can throw custom size in here. Anything, the standard size is all there. So say I wanted to have a situation where it's a widescreen. Great. I can resize this anytime that I would like. So if I want to go and change the size, that's more than possible. Templates are available, but I like starting with nothing on the page just because it gives you that added freedom. And so the thing that was added, it's been there for a year. But again, if you're a Clark County School District teacher, this is the product to use, in my opinion. It allows you to have send your creations in kind of a hokey way to Canvas as well. But say we were going to do Jackie Robinson. If I search baseball, Jackie Robinson's picture is there. You'll notice that gray background is there, and I don't want that gray background. So I'm going to click on Jackie Robinson and say, remove that for me, please. All right, and this is one of the things that's really this is newer. So I can invert the cutout if I would like. I can clear the cutout totally. I can restore the picture back to what it was. I'm just going to leave it like it is.
Wow, it does a surprisingly good job.
Does a good job, but you'll notice.
Yeah, there's little bits where it's kind of jacked up, but for something that automatically does it, it's not too bad.
And one of the cool things about that is that becomes a creative constraint. I want to hide that. I don't want that to be inside of my picture there. So one of the ways that I can do that is make that larger and slide that to the side so that now that is hidden. And now I have the situation where, bada bing, you don't know that hole happens to be in the bat at all. It looks like a natural picture. We're good to go. It still looks like he's looking out in the horizon. Real cool. We're good. I'm actually going to move us down just a little bit because I'm going to need us to see this. Now, the other thing inside of Spark that's really cool is the fact that, like Webbs just mentioned, there are layers now inside here. And the layers are courtesy of Photoshop. Industry standard. Having some Photoshop skills is great for any job. Illustrator skills, great for any job. I'm going to go and I'm going to say I want to add a background here. And he played baseball on grass. So I'm just going to search the word grass. And I've got some grass there. I'm going to use that. All right, when I click there, you're going to notice the layers are right here. So it's going to show me my layers right where it is. And I can go and pull that grass right underneath. Oops, didn't want to do that. Pull that grass right underneath, and I just did it. So that picture, the Jackie Robinson picture, is now at the topmost layer, and that's in the bottommost layer. All right, I'm just going to click on my grass there, and I'm going to say add that to the background, and suddenly Jackie Robinson is there on top of the grass. I can add whatever text I would like or anything like that on top of it. I can add, if you're, again, a Clark County School District teacher and you're watching this, your students have access, and you and your students have access to everything that has those little yellow tongues on them. Those are the premium content. You have access to the premium content. And you will see kids do all kind of amazingly strange and weird stuff with a lot of the design elements that happen to be here. You got frames, you got textures you can do, you have overlays and really cool stuff to deal with. So if I want to have a situation where I make this a little distressed, and I can play around with how distressed that is. You could really
keep in mind that you don't have to know all the things. You can just let your kids experiment with what's there and give them the basics, and from there just let them explore stuff and they'll figure things out on their own.
Absolutely. And my general my lesson with this is simply I walk them through me doing some stuff, and I'm like, the rest of the stuff, you want to do some other stuff, click on some buttons, see what happens. Because you've got filters. You've got the duotone is really recent. And you'll see powered by, right behind Webbs, it says powered by Adobe Photoshop. So I can go and play around with the filters there. You can really have some really interesting ideas, and a kid can do this as many iterations they would like. And no one's is going to look exactly like the next person's, which is the other thing that's really powerful about using tools like this, where my creativity belongs to me. Mine is going to be totally different than Webbs's. Webbs is going to be totally different than the next person, but we're all going to have an audiogram at the end of the day, which is really dope. All right, so Adobe Spark is there. You just go up to the top, you download that. It's going to go directly. PNG is going to be the higher quality, but the bigger type file. JPEG works just as well. Those two. There is the PDF, but you're not going to be able to upload a PDF into Headliner. So don't use the PDF at all. Hit that start download button. And you'll download it right to your device with no issues. Anything to add, Webbs?
I don't think so.
Excellent. So the audio and audiogram comes from sound. So we want to be able to record sound. And so 1, 2, 3 apps. Let's go back to the top here. This is a tool that is, if it's not in your toolbox and you're using Chromebooks, this is one to mark and make sure you have it in your toolbox. You'll pull it out of your back pocket at very opportune times because it is free. It allows students to do a lot of things that the iPads do natively because they're iPads and they're really dope. It gives you some iPad-ishness with your Chromebooks. So all your video stuff is there, but your audio tools are right underneath of it. And so you have that audio recorder right there. You can also join audio. So if you had, for example, you wanted to record a podcast with different kids having different audio on different devices, upload that stuff to your Google Drive. The kids can just join that audio all together, so it's one piece. Which again, it's a very cool idea to not only have audiograms as independent individual projects, but also have what a group audiogram sound like if kids were discussing who's their favorite Ninja Turtle, or why basketball is better than baseball, or sorry not sorry, spaghetti is the best Italian food there is. Lots of really, really cool ways. Go ahead, Webbs.
Audiograms are really common for podcasts to put on social media for advertising. So yeah, if you got like a quick clip and use that as the background. Can you export audio from synth?
You can.
Oh, okay.
So, yep, that's another way you could get it around. I like the voice recorder for this reason. I'm going to show you this in a second. So inside of the voice recorder, again, you can, first of all, tell it by using the setting there which microphone you want it to access. It's always good. But if I click that, Jackie, Rookie of the Year, Monarchs, Royals, the Dodgers, Baseball Hall of Fame. So I like this. This is something that synth doesn't give you the ability to do. It's just to do this really raw edit and say, okay, cool, I'm going to take this and there's my audio. Synth is going to record. It's not going to give you the ability to edit the audio inside there, which, for a free tool that, again, has a lot of really cool. We're going to get to synth in a later show because that's a really good way to create, your own podcast inside of Canvas. Have that just live in a Canvas on your front page and have kids add to the situation. Is really cool. All right. Just hit the save button there. Once you hit the save button, you give it a name and you download it and you're good to go. And that is like as simple as you can get it. Totally free, doesn't cost anything, and it works on the Chromebooks, but like a breeze. And so that's just renaming it, throwing it where it needs to go, and you're good to go. The good thing about this school year is having to navigate the Chromebooks. It has been very painful, but it's been a creative constraint, Webbs. It's been a situation where I've had to rethink some things for having operated in the iPad world so long. I have to figure out how to do the same processes on Chromebook has been interesting. So that's how you would get the audio. That's how I have students get audio into the audiograms. Anything to add, Webbs?
I don't think so.
Super duper. Now, in terms of Headliner, I'm actually going to go all the way back out. And I'm going to log myself out really quickly. Bada bing. So Headliner builds itself as this great way to promote podcasts. It's amazing. You see Julie Andrews there still looking ravishing after all these years. She's there on the front. All right. Unlimited free videos. It's wonderful. You get even more benefits if you sign up as a teacher. So you sign up as a teacher, you get that EDU account. You get transcript. You get 10 minutes of free transcription every month. You get 10 non-watermark videos every month for free. It's really, really a cool thing. There's an API there too, Webs, which is interesting. But you can take any podcast that is available, any podcast, as long as you had the URL for it, and you could dump it in here and make an audiogram. So even if it's a podcast that you didn't create, if it's a podcast you want your students to listen to a little snippet of, you could take that snippet of that podcast and present it to your students as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and just log in and sign in. I'm gonna sign in with my school account because it gives me that ability. Cool. So the Audiogram Wizard is the very first thing that's there, and that's why I like it, because I don't have to go search for it. But I can take full YouTube videos and take audio and create podcasts with it. So if you are a teacher using YouTube or using a YouTuber's content for your classroom, and you just want to make that audio, you can do that here. You can add transcription to your own videos. You can podcast audio videos. If I have a podcast that I really want to have kids take a snippet of again, I can take that podcast and throw it inside there. They also have really cool templates that are awesome. So if you want to use those templates, those are there as well. All right, so I just click that Audiogram Wizard and bada bing. I can search for a podcast by name. So if there's a podcast that you like, I can go ahead and copy and just search for what's CB Gray's thing? What is that called?
CGP Gray, Cortex. There it is, top one.
Bing. All right, so bada bing, I can click that. That's going to give me the ability to do this deal as well. I'm going to get rid of Cortex there. If you have an RSS feed or the script, if you use the script for transcriptions purposes, you can go and put the link inside there. It's going to go and take the audio from your video as well. But the upload is what we're going to deal with. All right, cool. And so I've got on this other screen, let me move this over. Some audio. And let me open that up. Bada bing. Let me find some audio for us very quickly. And there we go. So this is Jackie Robinson that I used earlier today. So I'm going to drop that inside there. All right. And bada bing. There go my audio form. The waves are there. It's going to take me, it's less than 10 seconds. Great. Add captions to video. Yep, I want that. You get 10 free transcription minutes a month. That's also a creative constraint. So that's one of the things I tell the kids. We don't want a 10-minute video. Keep it under a minute so we can continue to use the transcription, because you only get 10 minutes a month. All right. Go to the next button. And this depends totally on how you did what you needed to do. So I tell kids to choose quadrilaterals. You want to make sure there's a quadrilateral of some sort in which you build your graphic. So it can be a portrait, it can be square like Instagram, or it can be landscape. I don't really care. So I'm going to use the landscape one just for our deal here. And just like Webb said, there is the visual of our waveform. But I can do a circle. I can do like the hot lava, which all the kids did kind of like the disco hot lava. I can also make those waveforms. I can squish them. I can move them onto the side. There's a lot of choice you have there. Little dots are really cool too. I like the dots. I also like the little the speckled type situations. But there's a lot of really cool things you can do with it. This one I used one time because I put the baseball in the center there, so that it looked like the baseball was actually radiating. It was kind of cool. All right, so you have that deal. You can make the waveform look whatever way you would like. For longer ones, you can add a progress bar. I don't do it for the little short ones that I do, but if you had a situation where it was a 2 or 3 minute video, you might want to have the progress bar so they can, people know how long you have left inside of the deal. If you just used an image, you can actually just use the text bar there and type the text of the name of the podcast or the idea or whatever right on top of it as well. So You wouldn't necessarily, excuse me, have to do that inside of Adobe Spark or anything like that. You could just take an unsplash image, slap it inside there, and type on top of it. Anything to add, Webs?
No, I'm thinking good. These are, you get so many options with Headliner.
Oh, it's super dope. And it's really like once the kids get in there, you'll have the perfectionist kid who's like, no, it has to look perfect, and this and that. You have like the grunge kid that's like, hey, I'm just gonna throw some stuff in there. I'm really gonna be avant-garde and stuff. It really allows people again to be themselves without having the. It takes enough of the technical ability, technical acumen away from you, so you can concentrate on the things really the stylistic parts that you really are more wanting to deal with.
That's
So
funny because we kind of do the same thing in my job. Like we're looking for tools that can abstract away things we don't care about so that we can focus on the things that we do care about.
absolute
And
fact.
it's not cheating. And also,
Oh,
I just want to throw out there too that like one of the struggles we've talked about on the show before is that having kids do the work makes a teacher feel guilty, and you shouldn't, because it should be the kids doing the work. The kids should be the ones productively failing, working through their struggles, figuring out the tool, and figuring out like, you know, how they want to organize their stuff and sort it and what they want to be ready. Like they should be doing the bulk of the work, not you. Like if it's
absolutely.
a sage on the stage thing where you're like talking the whole time, you're doing something wrong.
Facts. Because you, in theory, know how to do this already. That's why you're the teacher. You know what the standards say, etc. So there's no reason for you to have to prove yourself to anyone. And even in the instances where I have no idea what I'm doing, it's far more fun to watch the kids iterate and do weird stuff. And you're like, is that right, Mr. Lane? I have no idea if that's right or not. But let's look at it and see if it works. If it works, great. You're right. If it doesn't, then hey, let's figure out some other way to do it. All right. And so here's where your images from your Adobe Spark are to come in. So you get that deal. They do have a built-in Canva deal. Again, I'm not the biggest Canva fan, but if you're a Canva person, great. Rock and roll, use Canva. Again, I'm not the biggest Canva fan. So I hit the upload button. I believe I have that deal. Yep. So I'm going to hit that Jackie Robinson deal. Cool. Upload, bada bing. So I can take that. I'm going to put that in the center, the corner up there, and we're good to go. All right. That's my deal. Now, we always are thinking about accessibility and making sure this is accessible to as many people as possible. So I'm going to go and change the name very quickly. Jackie the Haiku. And I'm going to hit the create button. So we have another option here. There are two options in here. You get 10 unwatermarked videos a month. Generally, I never do all 10. Unless you get like some kid who's like a super social media maven and like, hey, you know, I've got to gobble these things up, you know, God bless you. But you can export it now and not be able to deal with the transcription or anything like that. Or you can go to the advanced editor. I err on the side of going to the advanced editor because it gives you a couple of options that perhaps wouldn't be available to you. It gives kids the ability to personalize and stamp their audiograms. So I'm gonna hit that open, that editor, and it's gonna go and I'll take a couple seconds. It's only a 10-second long deal. And one of the big things I love is social media is all about personal branding. So at any point, I want kids to personally brand with their logo. Hey, this is work that I did. One, it gives you the sense of pride and accomplishment that, hey, this is a piece of work that hopefully I'm proud of, that I'm putting out to the world. It's what we as adults do all the time. We are the intelligent hoodlums. We have a logo, we have a brand. We want our brand to stand for high quality professional learning, et cetera, et cetera. That forces you always to look at your work to say, does this make me look like, does this product put me in the best light possible at all times when I'm going to publish this to a place where I'm not going to be able to delete it because somebody's going to see it? Which, you know, again, is another thing. We start talking about kids in the internet. It's not a conversation we have very, very often with our students, right? If you publish this to the internet, is this something that's going to make you and your brand shine? Or is this going to be something that you say, you know, 15 minutes later, like, oh my God, I should have never said that. I should have never done this. I should never done, like, you know, those are things you need to have conversations with your students. Webs.
That's a real like concern though, and I think a skill that needs to be taught for this modern era. Like, you need to consider, how does this impact you as a person if you were to put this out in the world? Is that a thing you want reflecting on you? And by having them do things like this, it does force that mental, like, internal conversation of, do I want to put this out into the world? Because you can't take it back once you do.
Facts. All right, and so this is the reason why I like just the extra step of the editor. First of all, we'll see that we have our media is there, and we can go and add to our media. So if we made a mistake or we want to switch out the picture or whatever, we can do that. Our audio is on its own track. So this is going to be a little bit more complicated, but it shows students that all these things are on their own planes here when we look at this timeline editor. So we want to kind of look at a situation where this is going to be more Adobe Premiere, more Final Cut Pro, more GarageBand, more, kind of that next level. Everything's already, if I decided to export this right now, totally cool, but it shows me I have some options. I could add background audio to this if I wanted to. So if I wanted to have a laugh track or hand claps or anything like that, and I had that track already, I could upload that and I would have that in the background. It could be really cool. Or in this case, baseball sounds, perhaps the bat hitting a ball or the sound of a crowd or any of those things. It gives you an opportunity to be extra creative, the extra layer there. All right. I can add a line of text if I want to, or more lines of text. My waveform, if I want to go and change that waveform, I also have an opportunity to do that as well. All right. Also here, I can edit the transcription. So if there's misspelled words or anything like that, I can go back and edit those. And Headliner does a pretty good job of transcribing things pretty accurately. Excuse me. Jackie, Rookie of the Year, Monarchs, Royals, the Dodgers Baseball Hall of Fame. That pretty much does it. I can play each of those lines independent of one another. All right. Media. So the only media I have right now is that image, but I can upload more media if I wanted to. I could switch out that picture or anything like that. But the style, and I like that because style is cool. Add a watermark. What watermark could I add? I could add my logo here. To add that, hey, who did this? I did this. And I think that's a point of pride that we need to ensure that every student has. I mean, when I was a kid in the webs, I'm sure, because you're a comic book fan too, like the cool thing was, you had a comic book name. Logan is Wolverine. All right, cool. What would be my comic book name? I would call myself this or whatever. Why do rappers not rap under their real name, or rockers rock under their real name? Because it's cool to have a nom de guerre or a nom de plume, right? It's cool to have another name that you call yourself. Logos and brands are the same way. We're Webs and Mike, but the Intelligent Hoodlums is a far cooler thing to say Webs and Mike, right? Anything to add, Webs?
So, funny side story. When I was in high school, I had my own website. And on my website, first of all, I published a very mean column about like dumb person of the day or something. It was terrible in retrospect, but and I also published a comic. Like, I had written this whole comic with like different people I knew from school who were I made like whole superhero characters out of them, and there was like all kinds of different like settings and stuff that happened, and it was like basically a Batman parody. But it was hilarious and super fun. And I still have the HTML files like floating around on a drive somewhere.
Indeed. Indeed. So I just took the Hoodlums logo, added to it. Your students could take their logo from Adobe Spark that they made. You add the watermark. Takes a second, and then the watermark is there. So now we have this situation where it is definitely a social media product now. It is branded. It is my thing. It belongs to me. I built the whole thing. It's got my closed captions so that even those who can't, who have difficulties hearing can read what my information is. So we're good there. And then all it is at that point is hitting that export button. I could resize this if I wanted to. If I didn't want it to be landscape, I wanted it to be square or a portrait, I could do that as well. But I'm at the export button. It's simply like what email addresses you wanted to go to. I can do multiple email addresses. If I had some intro or outro, I could do that. So I'm going to do the normal deal. It'll take a second, and then it's done. And it's really a fun product. The multiple steps is actually a benefit here because it gives kids multiple opportunities to say, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I did this? With a scenario where once you finish different pieces, those pieces are saved somewhere. So it gives you the safety to say, I can go and experiment knowing that I have this nice safe, graphic file or safe audio or whatever already saved. So I don't have to worry about messing it up. And I think that is another reason why, again, the multiple steps, really, really kind of cool. And once you're finished with it, it's just clicking download here. And bada bing, we're back at that Yan Can Cook. We went through the whole process. We cooked the whole thing. We're back here. We made our chicken teriyaki or whatever we're making today. All right. So Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. It is really cool also to make sure that students, if you're using Chromebooks, have a Google site that's going to serve as their portfolio where they can upload these things and kind of demonstrate those as, hey, this is my social media page. If you follow Bob at, sites.google.com/Bob is the greatest, at ccsd.net or whatever the devil it is, and have a scenario where kids can take those portfolios and go from grade level to grade level and show that teacher that they're going into, hey, you want to see my website? Yeah, this is all the stuff that I did last year. It also empowers them, Webbs. I think the really cool thing about the portfolio situation is being responsible enough for one's own learning process to say, hey, teacher person, you assigned us an essay. That's cool. What if I, instead of writing an essay, I wrote a script for a podcast and I'm going to make an audiogram for that podcast and I'm going to turn that in. I know how to do that. You don't have to worry about you learning how to do that. I already know how to do that from previous experience. Is it okay if I do this? All right. And even if the teacher says, no, kick rocks, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to turn your essay in, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to show you this really cool thing that perhaps you as teacher person can adapt and add to your own pedagogy in terms of giving kids another option in order to create. I think that's really dope.
Agreed.
So, Webbs, you want to share your screen and show us what the tool that you co-opted looks like?
Yeah, I sure can. So this is really something that is meant more to be like very basic. And I'm working on being able to make it so that you could use it. I'm planning on hosting it at audiogram.theintelligenthoodlums.com. So that if you just want something very basic, you still want to be able to use audiograms. Maybe you want to create your own. Maybe you want your students to create them, but the tools and different options that you have on some of the tools that we've gone through tonight are a bit too much. So it's really basic. This is actually something that I happened to come across it while trolling GitHub. So if you are a high school level teacher and you want your kids to build their own audiogram maker, you can copy the GitHub repo. I got it from University Radio York. I forked my own and I made an Intelligent Hoodlums version. But basically it gives you some very simple, and I'm going to build this out as we go, but you choose an audio file. So I'm just going to use this test file right here. Then I have 3 backgrounds right now. There's one with letters that has like a dark wave file. I have one that has like a science-y background with a lighter wave file. And there's one that's like a simple phone that's more like Instagram shaped. You can pretend that you're doing a podcast if you're looking for something to kind of like spark their imagination. They could pick one of these podcast titles and then make a clip about that. It could be like what do you call that? Anticipatory set activity for them to pick one of these and then make up what it would be about. Or you can pick none and just leave it empty. You can write your words here and you'll see them show up on your little gram. You don't have to worry about formatting it or placing it. You just type your words in and then it's by Webbs. So I type my name in and it shows up on here. You can preview it. Which you can't hear, but it says perfectly yesterday, Saturday, Sunday, fun. I had a tuna sandwich. And then when you're done, you hit generate and it'll go through, upload the audio, process it, pair it with your image, and then render something that you can download. And then you could upload it to social media, put it in a portfolio, use it wherever you want to use it. So while that's going, Like I said, I pulled it from I forked it from this other repository. Lots of people have forked it. If you are interested, I am Weber's Words on GitHub. So if you're a CS teacher and you want your kids to do this same project, it has a Docker file already built in, and it's pretty easy to spin up so they can have their own audiogram maker if you're looking for something. It's written in JavaScript. So if you are using JavaScript and some HTML, then here's a fun little practice project that they could download and tweak and change. Going back to the whole Yan Can Cook thing, this is basically a recipe, and you start out reading the recipe and tweaking the recipe, and then you start writing your own recipes. So this is a good, solid, like, it's a clean repository that has tests built into it. It's a good example if you are looking for a code project to do with your students. We're combining our frames, and it'll spit out a video, image, whatever, when it's done. Questions, comments, thoughts?
I mean, I think that's really, again, it's an authentic. What I hated about like my computer science class, it was like, hey, let's create like implausible scenarios that no one would ever do, and you're like, all right, that's stupid. I don't really want to do that. Like, this actually solves a problem, right? This, I like coursework that I don't realize all the skills I'm using in order to solve the problem, right? Now, if I can go through and say I'm using math right now and I'm using whatever right now, whatever, that's annoying to me. Very cool.
Yeah, so then I totally agreed, by the way. Like, if it's something, it's a tool I can use, spin up on my own. Also, I like the fact that this uses like modern stuff, like a Docker file, instead of being like a whole bunch of manual commands that you have to type out. So you can kind of reverse explain how the Docker file spins up the things that you want. But here we have our audiogram, so I'll play it even though you can't hear the audio. So, and then you can download it, or you can go back to the editor if there's something you want to tweak. Maybe you spelled something wrong, and that's all there is to it. It's super easy.
Super dope. I mean, again, I like the fact that it actually is. There's a point to it, right? There's a reason I would do that, because you can go and say, look, we're gonna run our own New York Times. We're gonna do, our class is gonna be a journalism class, and we want the ability to do these audio files because snippets of some of the interviews we're going to be doing with students or with the faculty or with administration, or we want to have audio files that are going to go on the staff webpage or whatever, or on the front page of the newspaper, whatever happens to be. And so I think that's yeah, I think that's pretty sick. It also gives me an idea that I'm moving to middle school next year. One of my classes, I teach 5 classes. One of them is going to run a blog in which I want to have them do audio files and stuff like that. Contribute to the blog. Here's the blog. Here's the front page of the blog. I mean, there's a lot of like really authentic ways you can have students write, respond, contribute, and communicate beyond here is an essay that is so like blasé at this
Tired,
point.
yeah, played out.
And that is not going to motivate anybody to do anything. Like, no one is going to want to, let's write an essay. I mean, come on, fam.
Also, it's not super practical. Like, I have never written an essay for my job. I've written documentation for my job, but I've never written an essay for a job unless I'm writing a very long email. But even then, the whole, like, you should keep that short. Like, most communication should be relatively short. So the idea of a 5-paragraph essay is just not a particularly useful one when you could take that same concept. Like, if the goal is you're trying to have them make a cogent argument or write cogently about something, there are many other ways to do that that aren't the 5-paragraph essay, or that you could take that model and apply it to something that's more meaningful and captures their engagement.
As a former journalism major, like writing copy, instead of saying we're writing essay, no, we're writing copy today, and this is this topic we're writing copy about. Okay, who's going to have the byline? What's the lead? Then we're talking about, hey, this is an authentic situation. If you are a journalist, these are the vocabulary terms you'll be using. This is how everything would look. What cool. No one says I'm writing an essay today. Like, in the idea of unless you're a professor, right? And even them, you're probably writing books and things like that. There's the sexiness of saying this is actually a professional way we can do this, that right there is an attractive thing to most humans. When you're saying we're not just doing this just to do it, there is an actual point to this, and this is actually there's a benefit to doing it this way.
So interestingly enough, I recently applied to a PhD program. And one of the things you had to do was send in like a statement about why you want to be in the program and what your background is and that kind of thing. And I opted to include my logo because I have a logo for Webs on the Webs. So like I included my logo at the top and made it formatted more as less as an essay, more as like a news article or something that's a little bit more engaging to read. I had color to it, whatever. And in my head, I was like, this feels like a risk because this isn't, I know what typically, like higher ed tends to be kind of stuffy and whatever. But I was like, you know what? This is authentically me. And if they do not want authentically me, then I'm not a good fit for the program. I did get accepted, by the way. So, follow your bliss or whatever. You make it interesting, make it engaging. Like I said, everything is marketing. So whether you're marketing yourself to another person or to a program or to a job, like everything is marketing. It's a super useful skill.
Absolute facts. And it's more fun when you're pretending to be something else. It's really fun. And again, it's the reason why when you were a kid, you imagined those Legos were actually a spaceship, and those action figures actually talked and actually were flying across the room when you were moving their legs and stuff. Like your imagination, that youthful, boundless, creativity. That's the stuff we have to make sure we tap into when we're in classrooms. You want to be the Wu-Tang Clan, man. You want to have these alternate low. I love Ghostface Killer because he has like 17 monikers, right? He Tony Stark. He's Wallaby Champ. He's this, and you're like, all right, cool. This is a grown man who has not lost his ability to be uber creative and make up scenarios and stories about how I got this nickname or that name. That's cool, right? It shouldn't be no one should be able to tell your age. Like if somebody can tell you how old you are, to me, it's kind of like you're failing at life, B. Like it should be a situation where like that guy's how old? Like, yo, yeah, I don't want to ever grow up. That's the fun part of teaching, right? There's no reason to grow up. And if you're grown up as a teacher, like that usually does not portend good things. So
agreed.
Keep your imagination, your creativity. The audiograms have like hundreds of applications inside the classroom. They're great for exit tickets. They're great for very quick explanations of things. They're great for in August when you have kids explain who they are and introduce themselves. Audiogram. I want you to take a picture of yourself. I want you to name your top 10 G.I. Joe figures in order and why they're the top 10 G.I. Joe figures, the top 10 video games, the top 3 flavors of ice cream, whatever. Here's this audiogram that you have to go produce for me, and we're going to take all those audiograms, we're going to put them on Mr. Jones's website so everyone can go and see what everybody's top 3 ice cream flavors are and why. A lot more fun than the worksheet where you cutting out whatever you're cutting out, because again, no one cuts out fish or whatever and puts it on the board. That's not what professional people do. All right. So again, show kids that in terms of the technical acumen needed to do any of the audiograms. We're going to have a Canvas module already built for you. So if you don't feel comfortable walking through that, here's the module. I'm going to add some bells and whistles to it. I use the haiku as an example. Again, haiku to me is a great way to have kids also introduce themselves to one another. Here's his haiku. Here's his poem. It's very short, 17 syllables. Again, it's a great way to learn, have some art appreciation as well. Haiku is something that is an actual art form that kids can learn. But we'll take that, put it in an audiogram. We'll walk you through other things. They're more likely than not, you're going to have the Chromebooks and not the iPads. That's why I built it in the Chromebooks with the Chromebooks in mind. Webs?
As we speak, it deployed. So I just got to set up the redirect and we'll be able to go to audiogram.theintelligenthoodlums.com and do your audiogram funness.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah.
So, we are back Thursday, and then we'll take the next week off, and then we'll be back the next week. And everything's going to kind of be Canvas centered. We're going to try to build Canvas modules for you. They'll be available for purchase, or if you're a special VIP person, for those things to be sent directly to you because you're awesome. However, one of the things we recognize as teachers, as one practicing teacher and one former teacher, is that you don't have a lot of time to build a lot of these things, and especially like the more technically expansive modules. If we just have those things, we just add to your course. Hopefully, your students will have opportunities for you to have less stress, the kids to be able to still have access to those processes. And again, you can drink your coffee while it's still warm, which is always my goal as an instructor. So any closing thoughts, Webbs?
Yeah. So if you're interested in purchasing the Canvas content that we're building, you can access it on our shop. It'll be up after the episode tonight. If you go to theintelligenthoodlums.com and go under, I think it's shop. Let me just double check and make sure I'm not lying to you. Yes. And go under shop. You can directly access our storefront and purchase it there. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which I need to redo and make more front and center because I went looking for it for somebody the other day and I was like, this is too hard to find. You can also sign up for our newsletter. Things will come out in there as well. This summer, we have 2 events that we are working behind the scenes. One is June 15th and 16th. It's the Queued Up event, which we also did with Q Nevada last year, queuedup.theintelligenthoodlums.com. You can also, the other event is, I think the 20, is it 23, 4, 5 or 4, 5, 6? I'll have to double check. Is Northeast Mississippi Community College has their mobile learning conference, which will also be helping out on the back end. And if you look them up, NEMCC Mobile Learning Conference, I think it's the 13th one. You can easily find all their resources. They're on Twitter. I'm not sure what the link is off the top of my head, but also a great virtual conference. Lots of great content at both of them. Highly recommend. And I think that's it. You can also find us on Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/theintelligenthoodlums. Or maybe it's just the Hoodlums.
Indeed.
I think it's just the Hoodlums. Yeah.
Myself a pot in just a moment. Indeed. So have a great work week. It is Monday Eve, so have a great work week. We only have 2 weeks and 3 days, so 13 total school days left until it is hasta la pasta. For you all who are working summer school, like, do the thing, but know that you have 2 weeks of regular school until we get a couple days of rest before we kind of hightail it into hopefully vacation time. All right, Webbs, let me do the thing, and it'll be time to rock and roll.